So I was considering what video to make for this weekend, and I realized I barely talk about turtles. Although many might think turtle kinda looks the same with each other, there are some unique or at least interesting turtles to talk about. For example, leatherback sea turtle, or mata-mata, or the big-headed turtle, snapping turtles, African helmeted turtle, even something as simple as box turtle. But for this video, I decided to talk about the spiny turtle. It's one of the most memorable turtles for me personally because I had it as a pet when I was a kid. A random street vendor had them for sale, so I just bought it because it looks cool. Years later, when I was in college and I joined the herpetology club, I was surprised to learn that, first of all, this turtle is actually rare, and second of all, it's endangered, even back when I had it as a pet. Kinda feels bad actually. But what's done is done. Anyway, let me bring up the question. What exactly is spiny turtle? Spiny turtle is an actual turtle, which means they are reptile. They are cryptoderen, meaning they can retract their neck into their shell. They are classified in the Geoemyidae family, which is literally the most generic turtle family that currently exists. Most pond turtles aka terrapin are placed in this family. Unless you live in North America, then your native pond turtles would most likely be classified in Emyidae family. Anyway, spiny turtles are classified in the Heosemys genus. Technically, each species in this genus has spiny carapace, but not to the extent of spiny turtle's carapace. When talking about spiny turtle, what's being talked about is a specific species, Heosemys spinosa. Spinosa itself means spiny, because if it's not obvious enough, the edges of their carapace are spiny. The etymology of their common name should also be obvious. Not to be confused with the spiny softshell turtle though. That one is from a completely different group of turtles, from the different side of the world, and definitely look less spiny. If you want to be absolutely clear, you can call this species spiny terrapin instead of simply spiny turtle, or spiny hill turtle. In Indonesia, this turtle is called kura-kura matahari, which literally means sun turtle, because their carapace kinda looks like a drawing of a sun when viewed from the top. Well, some of us might disagree, but it is what it is. They can mostly be found in the Sundaland area, roughly this region, but apparently, they can also be found in the Philippines. iNaturalist data showed no sightings in the Philippines though, but there is this one sighting in northern Hainan, and it's relatively recent, which is interesting to say the least. Remember when I said a random street vendor put them on sale when I was a kid? I've never seen this species since then, by the way. Not in the wild at least. That's how rare it is nowadays. But now you might think, maybe I'm just misremembering. What I had as a kid might not even be a spiny turtle. How could I be so sure? Well, to be completely honest, I also thought that way several times, but I don't think it can be otherwise. Let's talk about their morphology so I could tell you why. But before that, spiny turtles are average sized, at least among pond turtles. Adults are usually around 20 centimeters long. However, if we're talking about the spiny turtles, then they are small. Why? Because the ones with actual spiny carapace are juveniles. As they reach adulthood, the serration is reduced. You can still see the serration on their rear end though. Like I said earlier, other Heosemis also have this serration, but not to the extent of Heosemys spinosa serration. The juvenile of other Heosemis also have more spiny marginal scutes compared to the adults. But as you can see here, their serration is only apparent on the rear end. Well, technically, if you look closer at the marginal scutes, there are serrations, but barely noticeable, especially compared to spiny turtle juveniles. So yeah, that's why I am so sure that the one I had when I was a kid was Heosemys spinosa, because no other extant turtle has this degree of serration. Not even close. Speaking of, the juveniles also have strong vertebral keel and also these protrusions on their costal scutes. These two traits are also reduced as they grow into adults. The carapace itself is typically brown, with lighter color on the keel. The plastron has radiating yellow and dark lines on each scute. Their skin is typically dark. There can be some brown spots or even lines on the sides of their head and some on their limbs. As they grow older, these vibrant colors diminish, including the pattern on their plastron. They also share the generic turtle sexual dimorphism, which, if you didn't know, this would be a good time to talk about it. Males typically have concave plastron, while females don't. Not only that, males have longer claws and longer tail. All these traits are like this to support their reproduction, because males have to hop on top of the female. The plastron is concave because the carapace, in this case the female's carapace, is convex. The long claws are used to grasp the female, while the long tail is used to wrap around the female's tail. Like I said, all of these traits help them stay on top of the female while mating. Well, the base of the tail is also where the penis resides, hence why male's tail is longer by default. Next, let's talk about their ecology. Spiny turtles can usually be found along the streams in rainforests. However, they can also be found in lowland swamps and can even be found in mountains of up to 1000 meters elevation, as long as it's covered in rainforest, that is. The reason why they are tied to forests or swamps is because they are mainly herbivorous. They mostly eat fruits, leaves, and other plant materials. However, they also opportunistically eat mushrooms, insects, fishes, and even scavenge carrions. Monkey bones and hairs had been reported during fecal analysis on them, but them hunting monkeys is unlikely. What most likely happened is they simply ate a monkey carrion, though we couldn't know for sure. Such behavior has not yet been observed directly at least. Their mating season is triggered by the start of rainy season, especially around December to February. They typically lay 1 to 2 eggs in their nests. They typically cover their eggs partially with substrates. There is barely any record of their reproduction in their natural habitat, but some had successfully reproduced in captivity. In captivity, incubation lasted for around 106 days. Hatchling already have the spiny carapace. In fact, this serration is quite sharp and can help deter predator. I mean, eating a turtle is already difficult, now you need to go through this jagged shell. Why would you even do that? Not only that though, this serrated carapace, together with the fact that it's colored this way, actually help them camouflage among leaf litters. We don't know for sure about their natural lifespan, but they can live for 20 years in captivity, which is not exceptionally long for a turtle, but long enough. Spiny turtle had been categorized as endangered since the year 2000, which means I literally kept an endangered species as a pet when I was a kid, which feels really bad ever since I learned about the fact. Although habitat loss contributes to their population decline, the main cause is listed as intensive collection for consumption and pet trade. Their look is quite unique after all, hence why some are interested to keep them as pet. There are some breeding facilities that breed them for pet trade, both in the country where they reside and abroad. Some individuals are exported from local facilities, but I've read there are also some successful breeding and husbandry in Europe and the US. Not sure if it's still running though. At least they are not wild caught from the source population. But yeah, that is spiny turtle, one of the most unique turtles in terms of morphology, yet we don't know much about their life history, at least not in their natural habitat. Hopefully our interest on them would bring a positive outcome, for example, even more research on them. But for now, let's just learn what is known. And that's all for now. Oh, by the way, if you are wondering what happened to the one I kept when I was a kid, it simply disappeared one day, escaped from its container. These kind of turtles are known to be a good escape artist after all. Anyway, enjoy your day.